All right. We are live. We are back. We have been out of pocket for about a week, and now we're back. And I thought I'd do it live today just to get back in the swing of being on the air. And ironically, we're going to be in the air. I think I'm going to do a simulated flight using, I almost said Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's not. It's actually X-Plane. So there's two programs out there, two really good flight programs out there. One is X-Plane, which I'm using. I'm using X-Plane 11. Um, the other is Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they're both really good. Each has advantages and disadvantages, but I chose years ago to go with X-Plane, and that's what I've always used. So I'm going to try to do this where everybody can kind of see what's going on. I've not tried this before, so I might have a little trouble with sound and all that sort of stuff. But we'll work our way through it. And if any of you have been interested in doing a flight simulator type deal, um, maybe this will be good for you to kind of learn how to do things. So I've got Microsoft. There I go. Fix say Microsoft Flight Simulator again. I've got X-Plane pulled up on my other screen. Let's see if we can share that right quick, and then I will go from start to finish of how I do a flight. And being a former pilot, although most of my flight stuff was helicopter, and today we'll be doing an airplane. I've been retired for a number of years now, but every now and then, I kind of get the itch to kind of do some aviation related stuff. And this is how I do it. I'll just bring up one of these simulators and take a flight. So today I'm going to do a flight. I've looked at a map. Let me show you the map right quick. Now this is Sky Vector. This is where I usually go to get my information from. Let's see if I can find. I picked an airport, a little small airport in Arkansas. It was Searcy, Arkansas. Let me see if I can find it. I don't even know where it's at now. I'm trying to find my way to it. There it is, right there. You can see that. Let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. There we go. So there is Searcy Airport right here, and it looks like 10 miles and clear. So we got good stuff there. What's our altimeter setting? 3048. Let me jot that down so I can put it in the aircraft when we bring the aircraft up. Just 3048. And then we're going to go from there. We're going to go to Texarkana, Texas, which is kind of southwest of there, somewhere over here. There's Hot Springs. Anyway, we'll go to Texarkana, Texas this week on this flight. Now, I have not been into or out of either one of these airports on the simulator or in real life that I can remember. I don't think I've been to either one. So we'll learn together here right quick. So I'm going to go ahead and up in the top left corner of Sky Vector. Let's see, there's a little deal for airports. I'm going to type in the identifier for that airport, KSRC. And it will tell me everything I need to know about that airport. So if you're into gaming and aviation and you want to, kind of learn how to do some of these things, Sky Vector is a good place to go to get all your approach plates and airport information and VFR and IFR map and all that good stuff. So if you want to do the full gamut, you can see everything, operations data. In the first block, you got a communications data with all of the frequencies. That's those right there. You got your nav aids that are close by. It'll give you information about the runways, all that good stuff. And then down here towards the bottom, you got your approach plates and all that stuff. So basically what I'm going to do today, I'm not going to use the full gamut. I'm not going to talk on the radio with the aircraft. I'm I'm just going to do a VFR takeoff out of Searcy. We'll do a direct on the GPS, go straight to Texarkana. When we get to Texarkana, we'll decide, which approach we want to shoot, and we'll do an instrument approach into Texarkana, which is, I'm going to say 50% of the real stuff. If I was going to do the real stuff, I would have already done a lot of planning, which I've done none. And we would talk to ATC the whole time. We would follow an ForeverHuffsLiving flight plan and all that. So, we're not doing all of that stuff. David's going to have a little fun with it. Hey, Tim, good to see you, buddy. We're going to try to get our little aviation fix here today, fly an airplane for a little bit. Probably on here for an hour, maybe two. I don't know. But anyhow, we're getting our information kind of on our airport to leave out of Searcy, Arkansas. And we're going to fly down to Texarkana, Texas. So let me share another screen. We'll go to the game and go ahead and get that fired up. Now, I call it a game, and it is a game, but as a pilot, I can tell you that a lot of the stuff on here, especially aircraft, the way the aircraft acts and the instrumentation, it's pretty spot on. So here's our game. I think today I'm going to use this Beechcraft Barron right there. I've got to set in my airport that I want to start at. I'm going to put it right here. Let's see, it was KSRC. There's the airport, and it comes up and says Searcy Municipal. That's the one I'm looking for. So we'll say, let's start flight. Now you can set the game up to have you in a aircraft that's already cranked up and on the runway. I've got this one set to where it's not cranked up and it's on just on the tarmac. So once it gets booted up and comes up, we'll have to get in the aircraft and crank the aircraft and then taxi out to a runway to take off. Now I'm using just a simple, I don't know if you can see that, just a simple joystick that you can get at Walmart or wherever. I do have a airplane yoke and pedals that I have used before that I've got stored away somewhere. They just take up so much room around my computer. I decided not to use those, although it is fun. And maybe one day if I set up a computer in a room by itself where I have room to put that stuff, I'll go ahead and set the yoke and pedals back up. But for now, I just use my little joystick here, and it works fine. I'm not sure when I start the program up if you're going to be able to hear the sound, the airplane sound. I hope so when I'm screen sharing, but we'll see. We'll learn as we go. Hey, Miss Lulu, how are you? I watched some of the stream earlier. I didn't get to watch all of it. We got off the cruise ship this morning, drove home, and it was a real early start to our day. So I watched some of the stream earlier with Mr. Coop and them, and then I took a nap. I'll just be honest, I took a nap. And now I'm doing this, and I need to get some watch time in here. We haven't been here and been on the air for a while, so we got to build that watch time up. Okay, so now you can see it's got us. You can see my little pointer there. We are sitting in an aircraft. It's not cranked, and that's the first order of business. We had a great time away. We always enjoy cruising, Miss Lulu. We cruise a lot. I think this was my wife's 42nd cruise, 43rd, something like that. I'm in the upper 30s. She went on a few cruises while I was serving the government over in the Middle East for a couple of years. All right, so here we are. Now I've got a few buttons set. This is looking down at basically the center console. This is the autopilot right here. Of course, you got all of your controls right there. We'll go ahead and get some extra up here. And then this is the throttles right there. I will turn this on and set the heading before we get going, but this is what we have to do to get the airplane started. There is a way to make this yoke disappear, but I can't remember how to do it, so I'm just going to work around it. We've got to get things started. All right, we're going to turn our battery on, and that's as simple as putting the pointer on it. You can see the pointer right there. And we'll get that switch on, and I can see some stuff moving around here, and I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can hear that some of the electronic stuff is kind of powering up. Go ahead and get my left and right alternator set. And put a little bit of throttle in here. Like that. Let me see if I can get us down. All right. So let's crank the left engine first. How about that? So we're going to go ahead and go here, and we're going to hit the start button. All right. I've heard it crank. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. And then I'm just kind of looking at some instrumentation to make sure that it's cranked and doing well. Now, see, my temperature should start coming up. RPM's already up a little bit. And all of these instruments are for your left engine. And then I can look outside. And there, I can see that engine turning. I hope y'all can see that. All right, so that's one engine we got cranked. Let's go ahead and crank the second engine, which is right here. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and turn some lights on. Let's get a strobe light on and our beacon. How about that? And we'll turn our taxi lights on since we're going to be taxiing in a minute anyway. All right, let's see if I can move this out of the way. Let's get our avionics on and our prop sync on. All right, now let's go up here and take a look at instruments, and let's just see how we're looking. All right, we got manifold pressure, we got RPMs. Fuel flow is pretty low because we're just sitting at idle. All right, oil pressure looks good on both sides. Both of them are in the green right there. I don't know if y'all can hear the aircraft running. I can hear it good in my headset. So one of you would tell me, do you hear the aircraft running or not? Because it's on a separate screen, and I'm not sure if that, since I'm sharing the screen, I'm hoping the audio is coming with it. All right, one thing I like about this program is I can go up top to view. I don't know if you can see that, but I can go to view and change external and go to chase. And there we are in our airplane. Now it's so loud in my headset, I had to turn it down. Can't hear it? Okay, my wife just came in, and I think my son's on his computer and says he cannot hear the audio from that other screen. But anyway, over there, I can hear the airplane running. All right, so at this point, of course, if I was doing an actual flight, I would have all this already written down. But at this point, what I need to do is go back and take a look at some information off of that approach plate or that airport. So let's go look at that. All right, here I would go down. I usually just go to the approach plate and pick an approach plate. I can get everything I need off of that. Or I can look up here, approach departure WCOM, CTAF, AWAS. Well, that's a big old cup. Thank you. So I want to listen to the weather and get my tower frequencies and that sort of stuff at this airport. And that information is on the SkyVector website. So 122.7 is the frequency. And let's see, how about ATIS? 251, AWAS, 119.275. All right, so I've got those frequencies. I would want to listen to the weather first. All right, let's jump back in the plane. And I'm going to open up, here's a GPS over here, which is about where it would be in a real airplane. But with the game or this simulator, if you click on it, it'll open it up big so you can see what you're doing. So I would want to listen to the weather, and that is on 119.275. If I remember right. Yeah, 119.275. I want to put that frequency in right here, which you see it's highlighted. And when I go here and turn the big knob, it will turn it. You can see it's two knobs, an outer knob and an inner knob. I turn it backwards, counterclockwise, and it'll count down. So I got 119. And then on the other one, I'd go to 275. One thing about the program, you have to just click, 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 click. You can't hold it. If you hold it down, it doesn't just continually change the frequency. There's 275. Now I can go here. We'll see these arrows going up and down. I can hit that, and it makes that my main frequency. And it should give me weather. Did I write that down properly? Gotta have some coffee. All right, it's not giving me weather. Let's check and make sure I wrote the right frequency down. Hey, you never know. You make mistakes, right? We'll go back and look and see. It was 119.275. It is a 2 on 126.375. Let's try that. 126.375. Boom, 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 boom. Let's try 126.375. There we go. So maybe you can see all the writing going across the top. That's the weather report. I'm actually hearing it in my headset, but I don't think you guys are hearing it. And I want to set my altimeter now. They gave me an altimeter of 3048. That way it makes sure everybody is flying at the right altitude. All right, 3048. There we go. Got it in there. Thank you, Tim, for the thumbs up stuff. All right, once I got that, I would go ahead and put in my tower. Let's see what we got, 122.7. 122.7 is a kind of a general frequency that's used at a lot of airports that don't have a tower. All right, so we got a tower frequency, and now we need to set up where we're going in the GPS. So you see on the right-hand side, there's a D with an arrow through it. That means direct to, and that's what we want to do, just go direct to. And we're going to go to Texarkana. I wrote that identifier down is KTXK. So let's put that in. There's my K. Now, it automatically starts with a K because all airports do for the most part. 99% do in the US. So now to move this to the next letter, I come down here. Same thing we have on the right-hand side. You have a large wheel and an inner wheel. I'm going to take that large wheel, move it one time. So now I use the inner knob to go to T. And there again, you just have to click, 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 click. It won't automatically strobe. All right, so KTXK is what we got to put in. So just repeat that. KTXK. So KTX, I got that in, and there's only one in the country that has a KTX, and it ends with K. It automatically feeds that in. So now I just want to hit enter. And it asks me, do I want to activate? Yes, I hit enter again. There we go. There's our little airplane right there in the middle, and this is our course right here. So we're going to be heading on a course of about 220, 210, 22, 28, something like that. I'll just jot that down for reference. So now I can move back over to the right-hand side where the GPS is at, and just click on it, and it'll put it back down there. So there we go. Easy as that. Now we're going to drink some coffee. I am not familiar with this airport, so what I'm going to do is just change my view, my external view, and watch myself here. And I can fool with controls a little bit, make sure all my controls are working like they should be. And they seem to be, so we're good to go there. All right, we're going to have to make a quick turn here, aren't we? All right, I can hit the B, which releases the brake. And let's just taxi to one end of the runway here. And we'll go from there. Hey, Miss PJ, I'm waving back. Going to take you guys on an airplane ride today. We're going from Searcy, Arkansas to Texarkana, Texas. I just thought this would be a fun way to go live for a little while, and I'll get my aviation fix, fly an airplane for a little bit. I've got to figure out how to get my sound from my screen that has the game on it to my stream, because I don't believe you guys are hearing the airplane. So kind of in real life, you would come to this point right here. And that yellow line right there in front of the airplane is called a hold short line. And here you would do your final checks on your aircraft, make sure everything's working right, go through your checklist and make sure everything's good. You talk with the tower, let them know you're ready to take the runway. They would clear you to take the runway. Now, I'll tell you one thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get some parts of the autopilot turned on. I'm going to set up heading. Go ahead and get that in, and I'm going to set my heading where I want it to be, which is this little bug right here. I'm going to put it just kind of 90 degrees of where I'm at. I would set it to runway heading, but I haven't even looked to see what the runway is. Again, if I was actually doing this for real in real life, there's a lot of things here I would know before I got out to this point. So what we can do is go ahead and take the brake off, and let's get on the runway and take off. According to that windsock, we'll be taking off into the wind, which is good. And we are on runway 1, so we're headed north. It looks like a dead runway too. We're going to go around that. Don't tell the FAA. That was ugly, but we got it in the air. All right, I've got a button I pushed to get the landing gear up, so it's up. We got our heading set. We're going way too fast, but that's all right. We'll slow down and get a good climb going here. Oh, a helicopter for sure. Yeah, helicopter was my main deal. All right, I'm going to get a little altitude here, and I'll get the autopilot to hold the altitude. I've already got it holding my heading, and I'm watching it right here. I'm going to get us up to about 2,000 feet, and then we'll put the altitude hold on. So somewhere in there, we'll hit altitude, boom, right there. And I'll come back up here, and I got to check. You can see right there on the dash, that shows me what my autopilot's doing. So I've got altitude and heading. Now, the one thing this program will do, if I just let go of the controls, the altitude will swing way below to way above, and then it just slowly zeroes in on it. So that's just a kind of a glitch in the program, but we'll let it go in a minute. So I've got it set to hold us somewhere around 2,000 feet. We'll fine tune that. Bring our GPS up. Now we know we got to go southwest, so I've got heading hold on right now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that heading around to the southwest, and the airplane will turn itself. Let's say about, what did I say it was, 228? We'll set it to about 230. Somewhere in there, okay. I still can't let go of the altitude part of it yet. All right, you can see our course coming around. Now we're going to tie this autopilot to the GPS in a minute. I'm just making it easy on myself using the heading. As soon as I get all this settled out, I'll change the view again. It's pretty cool to watch it from outside. All right, there we go. All right, we'll get that out of the way. Now I can hit my pre-programmed button here. And then we go down here. If I hit nav, it'll take it off a heading. I don't know if y'all can see that. If I hit nav, that will tie it into the GPS. You can see the airplane making a turn. Let me bring that back up. So what it's going to do, I'm hands-free, letting the autopilot take care of it now. It's going to go and intercept that magenta line. Or I could hit direct and then hit enter twice, and it would give me a GPS course from where my aircraft is at right now. So I'm not in a hurry. I'll just let it go over there and intercept. And it also shows you good information on the GPS. It gives you your direct track, which is 228. It's 152 miles. And you see the time down in the bottom right-hand corner. It's going to take about, I'm going to say somewhere around 47 minutes to get there. And we have settled out at about 2,000 feet. I'll probably bump that up a little bit, get on up, maybe 3,000. So there's your altitude right there. We're at about 2,100 feet. So now that I've got it kind of settled in and I'm using the autopilot, I can look back down to the autopilot and I can hit this up button 2 or 3 times. I just did it 3 times. And it'll start a climb. You can see here, this is your up and down speed. So you see it's moving up to about 500 foot per minute. And we'll let it sit there till we get to the altitude we want to be. Now, in real life, if you're on an IFR plane, they would have assigned you an altitude, and that's what you would climb to. I'm not using that. But now the program has all that built into it. If you're into aviation stuff and you want to do it, you can absolutely talk to all the controllers and all that stuff. I just enjoy the flying part. I'm glad y'all are riding along with me. But yeah, Paul, to answer your question, I much prefer helicopter over airplane. I flew airplanes a little bit right at the end of my career. So while that's climbing, we'll jump outside and look at an outside view. That's pretty cool to watch. And I can move it around. So there we are. Doesn't look like me, but there we are, flying in our airplane. I didn't see y'all in there, but I know you're in there with me. Tell you what I can do. I can hook my speakers up. Turn them up, then you can hear the plane. So that's the plane. I don't know if y'all can hear that. I'll bring the speaker out closer because that's what I was hearing in my headset. Let's get back in and see where we're at on altitude. We're going to get it to 3,000. You see right here. We're at about 2,800. We're still climbing at about 300 feet. When it gets to the altitude we want it to be at, we'll jump back down to the autopilot and just get altitude home. Yeah, go get you a drink and some peanuts and just act like you're sitting in the back. All right, so now we're close enough to 3,000. Let's go ahead and do that. Hit it twice. Let's go back, take a look. Autopilot now to the big, nope, taking it. Hit altitude again. Yep, there we go. Got altitude on there. So we're at about 3,100, which is not acceptable. We would want to nail it right at 3,000. All right, so now you can see the aircraft has intercepted the course on the GPS, so that's what we're doing now. When we get close to Texarkana, we'll bring up the instrument approach plates for that airport, and we'll decide which one we're going to do. We'll stick it in, but we can let this autopilot fly the whole thing until just before touchdown. We'll take over the controls. And the aircraft that was involved in the crash a couple of weeks ago, this is what they were doing. So they were spot on exactly where they were supposed to be. They were talking to ATC. You know, they were doing nothing wrong. They were right where they were supposed to be, doing just what they were supposed to be doing. So I knew right away the mistake was made by the Black Hawk. Now, if I want to, I can go to the Sky Vector program. Well, let's do that. I can go to Sky Vector and look at the approach plates on that program and go ahead and look at it ahead of time. Now, it's a lot of information on those instrument approach plates, and I'm going to share a lot of it with you, but I'm just telling you now, it's a lot. Let me see if I can get a speaker closer to the microphone. Maybe y'all can hear me. Okay, there we go. It gets a lot louder when I go to the outside view. Let's look at, let's see if we can find an approach plate for that airplane. I need to switch airports. Let's go to TXK, KTXK. Got a little too close. All right, here we go. Now, so I can look over here to the left. It gives me a big picture. So this is a pretty good size airport. They got a long runway and a short runway. With this particular airplane, we can use either one. It doesn't matter. So let's go down here. Now here are the approach plates. Let's pick which one we're going to do. We're headed about 27. Sound is lower. Right now, can you hear it? See, if I get it too loud, it's going to squeal on my end because I'm using the speaker. All right, I think I want to shoot the GPS approach runway 22. And that's this right here. I can open that up. Now here's where there's a lot of information. All I'm wanting to look at right now is this side view. It says I need to be at 2,100 feet. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's right there. When I enter this approach, I need to start it at 2,100 feet. That's the main thing I want to look at right now. I think I'll leave that there, so if I want to come back to it, I can reference it. But let me see if I can explain some of this stuff on here. So the big area right here in the middle, that's like you're at 20, 30,000 feet looking straight down on this approach. That's kind of what that is. This view right here is you're looking at this approach from the side. We're going to come in at 2,100 feet, go to this checkpoint called Cudpa. At that point, you can start your descent down. Since this is an ILS type approach, RNAV approach, it'll give us a glide slope, which is our actual slope down to the runway. And then we can go down to 687 feet. I don't know if you can see that down at the bottom left there. And this is, this is the real deal. This is a real approach plate for this airport. So if they're an airliner coming in, let's say the weather's really bad, and they're coming in, they can go down to 687 feet. At that point, they can't see the runway to finish the landing, which is actually putting them 200 feet above the ground. Then they have to do a missed approach and go somewhere else. But 687 feet gets you really close to the runway. Most of the time, you'll see the runway. Now, this gives a whole lot more information than that, but that's the gist of it. So this is the paper and frequencies and all that stuff that we're going to use to shoot this approach when we get to Texarkana. So now let's just go back and watch the cool stuff in the airport. All right, so we're at about 3,100 feet. So before we get there, we're going to drop 1,000 feet. We're doing about 170 knots. We're back that throttle up a little bit. Let's go ahead and lean out that fuel. Now let's go outside and look. Here we are. Passing right over an airport runway. All right. So the airplane sound is louder when I go to an outside view. You probably hear that a little better now. Most airplanes, especially the airliners, they're just like what you're seeing me do right now. You let the autopilot fly. You just monitor the autopilot and make the changes that need to be made. Okay, Miss PJ, clear that question up for me. Said, do I have the same program for help to show us sometime? Like if you want to do this, can I help you? Absolutely, I can help you. Okay, big old cup of coffee. This program also has the ability. I can go in and change the weather, make the weather where we're in the clouds right now. Not be able to see anything. I've got it set to real-time weather, which it goes out on the internet. It gets actual weather. And if you were flying a plane where we're at right now, this is what you would see. This is what the weather is like here right now. So there's your GPS again. It shows us we're on our track like we should be. Up here in the top right on this GPS, it has RNG, which means ring. I guess it's ring. Range. I'm sorry, range. Okay. All right. Well, I'll need to turn that volume down a little bit on the plane. Oh, you're not too old, Miss PJ. You're never too old. Yeah, this actually the RNG stands for range. I'm pretty sure. But you can go up and down, and I can make my field of view on the GPS. See, I'm getting further and further out. So they're now showing all the way to my destination KTX. I usually leave it out a little further than that where I can see what's going on around me. So there again, you see at the top left of the GPS, direct track's 227. Distance to go is 113 miles. Our ground speed is 158, and our ETE is about 42 minutes. Now, I don't think it stays real accurate on the time. This 42 minutes that's showing on there might actually take an hour of real time. I need to turn my taxi lights off earlier, but it's up under this yoke. So I've got my little toggle switch on my control here. Wherever I turn it, I get to look that way. I look out the left. It's almost like I'm turning my head. Look out the right. But usually I keep it something like this so I can monitor instruments and that sort of stuff. There again, I'm not using the radios today like I would on a real flight, but I would be changing frequencies and talking to different agencies as I'm going along. I will tell you this, if you're going to learn to fly helicopters, get ready to get your wallet out. They're very expensive to operate, and therefore it costs a lot of money to take the lessons. Uncle Sam trained me up in the Army, so it didn't cost me anything. I don't have my chat overlay on. Let me see if I can fix it. I thought I did. Yeah, it's on. Ooh, am I not going in Rumble? I thought I had both of them set. Oh, can't see me in the Rumble. I got you. Yeah, this is on Restream. Top left, my chat. Cool, Miss PJ. It's a memory you never forgot. It's very expensive. There we are. I'll turn that volume down a little bit. Oh, I hate that, Miss Lulu. Wish she'd have got her wings. Okay. Yeah, I'll rework it next time. I see the chat overlay on mine. You guys say you're not seeing the chat on the overlay. Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I see it on mine. So now that we got everything set up, the flight's kind of boring. I'm gonna go ahead and get us back down to about 2,500 feet. Okay, so it's not me. I see the chat. I understand what you're saying now. Yeah, the overlay does not. It's not showing on my screen, but I see the chat. So I've got the autopilot put us in a little bit of a descent. You can see that right here. But again, that's your up and down speed. You can see we're descending by about 300 foot per minute. And you can see the total altitude right here. We're at 2,800. I'm going to let it come on down to about 2,500, which is straight up and down here. And that puts us pretty close to that 2,100 that we need when we get to the airport for the approach. It's slow to take it. I hit it right at the right time. It didn't take it. So it'll hold us around 2450, something like that. That's good enough. Oh, but you probably got you a good man. So once you get to altitude and you got your autopilot on, you get everything set up, it gets a little boring. I'm using a mixture of the keyboard and my joystick, but mainly the keyboard right now. I've got a couple of quick keys. So that's one thing, about a simulator is your view is limited. We're in the aircraft, you've got 270 degrees at least, and it's easy to turn your head and look and reach and do. Where this, I've got a quick key to get me looking down at that GPS. Because if I took the time to do this with and then find what I want to do, and then come back up here, it just takes too long. So my quick key, I just look right at the GPS, do what I need to do to it, and then move on. So there we go, flying our little beach Barron. Yeah, if any of you want to do a simulator like this, I'll be more than happy to explain different things and how it works and how to use it. Microsoft Flight Simulator, it has some really good graphics, probably better graphics than this one does. This one has some more characteristics about it that I think are true to the aircraft and how the aircraft actually operates. So give or take whichever one you like. Both of them are good programs. Skipper, what's happening, man? We're taking a little flight. I'm taking all y'all along with me. You know, you say that about the fear of heights. I know a lot of pilots that are afraid of heights. They don't mind flying an airplane or a helicopter, but you put them on a 6-foot step ladder and they just have a death grip on. So I see some foothills out there. Right out there. Okay, Lulu, you say it's steam. Are you meaning stream? I'm on restream. Go to this screen. This, oh, that's even better. Look at that. We did have a good time on vacation. We always do. We cruise a lot. Oh, Steam. No, I am not on Steam. Okay, Skipper says comments are displayed on bottom. Cool. Or not. Okay. Autocorrect, gotcha. Okay, well, I've got it turned on. It's just not showing for some reason. headed down to Texarkana, Texas. We left Searcy, Arkansas, just a little small airport. I do know you're here, Mr. Cook. You're a hero in my book. I was cheering when you came in. Do we need to block naming? Okay, I think we got naming Blue Fox out. Yep, we had a troll. Well, troll is blocked for a little while. Really, Lulu, it automatically unsubbed you for some reason. Well, I'm glad you reset. Welcome back. All right, I will do that. Is that better? And I'll pop back in every now and then, take a look at the GPS, keep an idea of where we're at. You can see right here we still have 64 miles to go in a time of 24 minutes, 25 minutes. Our ground speed is 155 miles per hour. And I will also take a look at all of these things to make sure both engines are operating properly and we don't have any catastrophic problems. Of course, sitting in the airplane, you would monitor that constantly. GPS, instruments, gauges. We're on the game, you have to kind of go back and forth and look. So once you get the game set up, once you know what you're doing and you're using the autopilot, it's actually boring right now. Just we get to watch the scenery, but the autopilot's doing all the work. We'll get busy again when we get closer to the airport and start to do the approach. Got 12 people in here watching. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. This will help with my watch time. So in the aircraft, if you have two pilots, you do a three-way positive transfer of controls. So if I'm flying and I want the other guy to fly, I'll tell him, you have the controls. He will take the controls and he will say, I have the controls. That's the second part of it. And then I will look back at him and verify, and I will say, you have the controls. So that's the third part, and I will release at that point. So it's called a three-way positive transfer. So there's no mistake who's on the controls. So right now, I'm handing you guys the controls while I go get some more coffee. I'll be right back. All right. Hey, y'all didn't crash it. Good. Tell you what I'll do. I'll go ahead and get that approach brake back up. And show you some more about that. So I find the right button. Here we go. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is actually what a pilot would use. He might have it on an iPad. Now, we're back in the day when I first started, it was all paper. Zoom in a little bit. So it gives you a lot of little notes about the airport. This frequency right here is basically their weather frequency. So before you get there, you would tune this in and listen to their weather and get their altimeter setting. Fort Worth Center is like a big circle. Say 20 miles out, you're going to talk to center. And then when you get a little closer, they will hand you over to tower, which is, you get my pointer on the right screen. So here's the weather frequency right here. You can see my cursor pointed at that. And then center, well, like let's say it's a 20-mile circle around that airport. You talk to them first, and then when you get within about 5 miles, they will hand you over to the tower, which is this frequency right here, 123.875. Once you land and taxi off of the runway, then you talk to ground, which is this frequency right here, and they talk to you and guide you into your parking. So there's your frequencies you're going to need right there. Now I said if you got to that minimum altitude and you can't see the runway and you have to do a missed approach, where that top right corner, there's some missed approach instructions. That's what you would do. It doesn't happen very often. Yes, Lulu, it's X-Plane. I'm using version 11. I think they have a version 12 out now. Not really sure. All right, so there again, this big area right here in the middle is like you're at 30,000 feet looking straight down on this airport. And we're coming from the northeast. So we're coming from up in this, if you just picture a map, we're kind of up in this area and we're coming this way. If you see my cursor. And what we're going to do is we're going to intercept one of these points. And then we will fly this to, you see the course says 220 degrees right there. We'll fly that 220 degrees. This little bitty, I said, my cursor is working. At the end of that arrow, that's that little bitty mark there is the actual airport. And then this out here, this dotted line, that would be the missed approach if you couldn't get in. But right there in the center, that's the airport. This area, this circle over here, uh, gives you is MSA, which is a minimum safe altitude. So make sure you don't hit any tower or anything like that coming into the airport. It says the minimum safe altitude is 2,000 feet. That's that number that's in that square right there inside that circle. We're at 2,100, so we'll be fine. So now, if you come down to the kind of bottom left that I have showing, now you're looking at this approach from a sideways view. So you're going to come in at 2,100 feet, and you're going to hit the lines, and you're going to stay at 2,100 until you get to this checkpoint CUDPA. They name these things weird, but you're going to go to CUDPA, and at that point your glide slope should come in. It'll take you down to the runway. So the main number I need to know on this approach kind of right now is at the very bottom you see it says 687 feet. That's the number I need to know. I watch my altitude as I'm coming down, and at 687 feet, if I had not broken out of clouds, if we were on a cloudy day, then I would have to do a missed approach, which is those instructions in the top right corner. So everything you need to know is on this little piece of paper. Now, back in the day, we had to do all this by hand. You had to fly the aircraft by hand. Nowadays, autopilot is common, and the autopilot will actually fly this approach for us. And this, again, is what the pilots were doing in the airplane the other day when the helicopter basically ran into it. Okay, all right, Skipper, I was looking at everything I was doing instead of watching the chat. You have a number for me to call when I'm ready to copy. I'm ready to copy. Yeah, the snacks are simulated too. But the snacks are really good. If you imagine them, they're pretty good. It's got coffee. So while we were on our little vacation there, I had very little watch time on my channel. So I got to thank you guys again. This is really going to help with my watch time. Appreciate y'all coming in and watching. And who knows, one of y'all might get interested in one of these games, one of these simulators. Hey, I'll be glad to jump on Restream with you and help you out. All right, so we got 35 miles to go. If you look at the GPS I've got brought up here. Now, one thing about the program is you can't put in an approach to the airport until you get within about 30 miles. Where in the airplane, you can do it much further out. So on this simulator, I'm going to have to work kind of quick to get all this in. Once we get below 30 miles. I did pull the throttle back. We're going to slow down a little bit to buy me a little time. Skipper, there's a place online. Actually, you can fly this program online, and they have ATC, and it's like real life. I did it a little bit. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't remember right now, but anyway, you have real people sitting at their computer working as ATC. And when they look out of their tower, they can actually see my aircraft, coming. And other people flying the game, you can see their aircraft. It gets pretty real world with that deal. I'm trying to. It's been so long since I did it. I can't remember the name of the program, but it's out there. You fly an aircraft in the simulation, or you can be an air traffic controller. And they actually have classes that will help teach you how to do the ATC stuff. It's pretty cool. So we got 31 miles to go. When we get below 30, I'm going to go ahead and bring up the approach. And I'll explain it some as I go. But we're going to start right here. You see that button says PROC. That stands for procedure. We're going to bring that up. Let's go ahead and bring it up. It asks you what you want to do. Well, I want to select an approach that's already highlighted. I'm going to hit enter. I'm trying to remember which approach we were looking at. Was it 2-2? I think it was. So I want to bring my cursor down to this RNAV 2-2. I'll do that here. It's a GPS approach. That's what I want to use. So enter. All right, I want to go to the Toyo Y. I can't even say the initial approach pitch for that approach. I'm going to bring that to there. And I'm going to hit enter. We should be well below the 30 miles. Load or activate. I want to activate enter. So now it should, let me see if I can get it back to, there we go. So now everything is lit up. So it's fixing to take me to Toyo. And if you see on the GPS, this leg that we're on is magenta. It will stay magenta until we get to this point, and then it'll turn white, and the next leg will turn magenta. So it's basically showing me each leg. So now we got the approach in, the autopilot's grabbed it, we're headed that way. I do want to get on down to 2,100 feet, so I'm going to do this and get down, get us descending. There we go, we're descending. When it gets down to 2,100, I'll lock that in. Now, like I said, I'm going to get busy here for a minute getting this stuff done and try to explain it all at the same time. So let's go back to the approach plate, and I'll show you what we're doing. You got to imagine we are way up high looking straight down. Okay, so we're coming in from somewhere over in this area. We're about 30 miles out to where my pointer's at. And it's going to take us to, if you saw the word Toyoy, it's going to take us to that point, and then we'll fly from there. We'll come in to this point and then shoot the approach. And we need to be at 2,100 feet when we get to Toyoy. So that's what we're doing. We're going to do the whole approach. I say we're going to do it, the autopilot's going to do it, but we got to make sure we're operating the autopilot properly, putting everything in. Now let's see how we're looking on our altitude. I came over here doing this. All right, so we're at 2,250. We're looking for 2,100 feet on the altitude right here. Now I will probably leave the GPS up for the rest of the flight so I can watch what's going on. I can see it over there where it's small, but it's nicer just to have it bigger up in front of me there. So everybody kind of following what we're doing here? Well, actually, I would have to go around if it was a hot air balloon because they have priority. They have very little control of where they go and how they do. So if one was in my flight path, I would have to do a go around. You are right, Skipper. All right, so coming up on 2100, let's lock in that altitude. One push, let's see what happens. Okay, there we go. It should lock in at 2100. And what works out good for this is, even though I've never been to this airport before, I don't even have to look for it. I'm on the approach. The autopilot's flying the approach. It's going to take me right to the runway. There we are. Copy my cackle. Okay. So now here's where I might use this ring button up here. Now that I'm on the approach, I might zoom it on in so I can see better what's going on. Now the distance 6.8 it's actually showing me is to this Toyo, or however you say that, Toyoy. And 3 minutes to get there. I'm doing 128 knots, which is fine. I might bump that up a little bit. And one thing I don't do on this program is I don't use a checklist. In the aircraft, I would. So I have to remember to put my gear down. Y'all remind me. So now I'm kind of, now and in the aircraft, I'm going to monitor what happens in 4 miles, less than 2 minutes away. The aircraft should turn and intercept that next leg. If for some reason it doesn't, then I'm going to get on the controls and manually fly it and go do that leg. I can fly this whole approach manually. And it's so much easier to let the autopilot do it. And actually, the autopilot will do it more accurate. But you don't just assume that it's got it. You're watching. I know in a minute and a half, my aircraft should start turning to the left to intercept this next leg and head me over towards that WORPA. So if it does not turn and that next leg doesn't turn magenta, then I know something has gone on with the autopilot and I need to take over. One of the biggest faults I found with these simulators is it does not always grab the glide slope. We'll see that in a few minutes. We'll see what it does. So now it's saying left to 133 in 9 seconds. It's counting down, and it will actually do that on the GPS in the aircraft. Now, okay, so now I got to watch it, see, is it going to make the turn? And yes, it is. It's making the turn. So I know the autopilot's doing its job. Now you can see how that leg went away and this one turned magenta. So that tells me it's grabbing. And it's kind of a short leg, so it's not going to take long for that to happen. Now what I need to do is look at the approach plate again. Let's see. So we've made it to this point, and we're coming to this point. I got to stay at 2100, and then I stay at 2100 on this leg until I get to that cudpa, which is right here, right here. So I just got to this point. I'm going to this point, and then I come down to, once it makes a turn, comes to cudpa. Now, if you look at the side view at cudpa, that's when I will start my descent down to the runway. You see that right there. The aircraft should do it itself. At cudpa, the glide slope should grab. If for some reason it doesn't, then I'll take over and do it myself. So we would have this approach plate out and looking at it the whole time. It's hard to do on this game like I'm doing with you guys. Normally I would have it on the other screen and be able to look at it, but I can't do that when I'm trying to share the whole thing with y'all. So we have to go back and forth. Okay, let's see where we're at. All right, we're doing good. We're at 2,100 feet. We're doing about 140 knots. We're headed towards WRPA, Warpa. And at that point, it'll make a turn, and we should head down to Covington. And one thing I do need to do right now is go ahead and turn on the approach on the autopilot, which is that APPR. I clicked on it. Let's make sure it took it. Yeah, so there it is. It shows that the approach is on. That will make the glide slope work. Now, where the glide slope is, I will show you. Right here, see that that red flag? Red flag, that means the glide slope is not working. So what it's doing, it's not picked up the signal yet. When it picks up the signal, that red flag right there will go away. So here we are coming into warp. And now you see how, the pilots are getting busier and busier as they're doing this approach. You got to keep up with all this stuff that's going on and make sure it works. Can't see over the dash. What about now? I was trying to show you some of this. Okay, so we made it to Warpa. That leg went away, and now the next leg has turned magenta, and we're turning into it, so we're headed to Cudpa. And at Cudpa is where our glide slope should come in. Now, I've got to come back down to show you this. All right, so that red flag we had now is gone. You see right there where I got my cursor. Now there's a little yellow dot right there. It will start coming down because the glide slope is right here, right in the center. We're below it right now, so this is the actual glide slope where the yellow flag is. I'm trying to explain this right. And as we fly into it, this is going to come down, and when it gets centered, the autopilot should grab it and fly that approach straight down to that minimum altitude we talked about. If I start looking, I should start seeing the airport. It's up here in front of us somewhere, and we are lined up on the runway. It's pretty cool. It's just neat as it can be. You gotta love aviation. And we'll start our descent, and it's going to take us right to that runway. And this aircraft won't fly squirrely till I take over. It's just the way it works. So I'm watching my GPS. I got 4 miles to go. It's going to take me about 1:50 to get there. I'm doing 130 knots, which is perfect. So really the main thing I would be watching for in the aircraft is this glide slope button right here, that yellow button. If y'all can make that out, it's coming down at any time. And this is why, it's called instrument flying. You really don't need to look outside. Okay, I don't know if y'all see that. See how it's moving down? Moving down, moving down. When it gets to this center knob, I should see my descent come down to about 500 foot per minute. If it gets there and this does not start, then it didn't catch it. But it looks like it's already kind of started. So here we go. The glide slope's almost where it needs to be. We've started a descent already. I'm going to get the GPS out of the way. So yeah, we're descending. I'm going to get it up here where we can see. The airport is right out in front of us somewhere. We're at the outer marker. I've got to remember here in just a minute, I got to get my gear down and I got to get some flaps in and start slowing us down. Georgie, don't let them bother you about being vertically challenged. So is my wife. She's about 5 foot nothing. Or as I like to say, she's 4'12". Okay, it looks like that right there is the runway. Y'all can see that where my cursor is. I believe that's the runway. So I'm going to go ahead and get the gear down. I heard it. I don't know if y'all can hear it. Let me change to external. There we go. Got our gear down. Now you can see the runway right there. When we get close to the ground, I'll go ahead and take over the controls and start getting a little squirrely. I'll get some flaps in. We'll pull the throttle out once we have the runway made, and we'll grease it on the runway. And then this thing has a really neat deal. You can do a playback. You can go back and from the chase position, watching the aircraft, you can watch the landing. When I put flaps in, it's going to automatically kick the autopilot off. But I need to get some flaps in to slow us down. So here we go. All right, so now I've got control of the aircraft. Our gear's down. We got flaps in. We're looking good. You can see where all the airplanes have been hitting the runway. We'll try to hit somewhere right in there too. All right, I just pulled the throttle all the way back. We'll let it settle in, flare back, flare back. There we go. We are on the ground. I got y'all here safely. Now I'm going to hit the brakes and just go ahead and stop the aircraft. Normally I would taxi off, but I want to go ahead and stop it. And let's see if we can go back to a replay mode. Let's look at the landing. I got to find. It's been a while since I've. Here we go. Toggle replay mode. All right. So when I toggle replay, it comes up here, and this is, of course, the end of it. I can just back it up a little ways. Right there, I can hit play. And while it's playing, I can go to my external view to chase. Okay, we don't have the gear down yet. So now I can just kind of watch the landing and critique myself on how good we did. Did y'all enjoy the flight? Hey, this is my first online X-plane flight, and I had you guys along as passengers. That was pretty cool. Magic Angel, you're asking me, X-plane is the one I'm using, the letter X and then the word plane. I think they have version 12 out now. I'm using version 11. I want to say I started using this when they had was on like version 9 several years ago. So it recorded the landing, and that's what we're watching now. We're just doing a replay now. And this program has everything from a little bitty Cessna all the way up to, big airliners. And there are some virtual airlines out there that you can go join. You can fly for an airline. You start as a co-pilot. After so many hours, they unlock bigger aircraft that you can download into your game. You earn rank as you do hours, and it's kind of an honor system. You don't actually fly online. You fly offline, and then you go to their website and you log the flight that you did. It basically puts it in your logbook on their site. And as you build hours, they give you awards, and you work your way up to captain, and you get longer and longer flights available to you. Every time you reach a milestone, other things in the game opens up to you. Okay, there we go. We're getting our gear now. Glad I didn't forget that. Y'all were supposed to remind me, but you didn't. So I didn't use every aspect of the game. Of course, you see the airplane get a little squirrely there. That's where I took over. But this should have given you a really good idea how an instrument approach works. And all your airliners they're doing full instruments and using their autopilot. So the plane that was going into Washington, D.C. the other day was absolutely correctly right where it was supposed to be. All right, let's see how the touchdown works. Oh, yeah. Don't get any better than that. And then I stopped it on the runway. There we go. Our first flight in the books. So thank y'all for riding along with me on that little flight from Searcy, Arkansas to Texarkana, Texas. And I got to share a little bit of knowledge about the instrument stuff and how it works and how the pilots fly the aircraft from point A to point B and do a flawless landing into where they're going using autopilot and all the instrument stuff, approaches and everything that's available to them. So most helicopters, on the other hand, are flying VFR. They're not using the instrument. They have it available to them, but they're at lower altitudes, and they like just flying around looking outside and doing what they want to do. So you had an IFR aircraft shooting an IFR approach into Washington, D.C., while at the same time you had a VFR aircraft, which was the helicopter flying down the river. And there again, the airplane was right where it was supposed to be, doing what it was supposed to be doing. The helicopter flew up into their path, and it was a tragic accident. I hate it happened, and maybe they'll put some controls in place to make sure it never happens again. So thank y'all for watching and helping me with some watch time today. I don't know if anybody's going to be on this evening, but if you are, me and the missus will get in and watch y'all's live this evening. So if y'all like this and you want to do this again some other time, I'll do another flight. She didn't push me out to sea. She's really too small to knock me overboard. I don't think she would, though. I treat her pretty good. All right, I'm going to end this one. Thank y'all so much for watching, and maybe we'll see y'all this evening if someone in the group does a live. And we're glad to be back, and thank y'all for helping me with some watch time today. I'll see y'all on the next one.